Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm actually going to discuss two topics today, one of which is something we discussed a couple of days ago, which is the Sitzer Burnett trial versus the NAR, where it is a competition kind of, it is a lawsuit kind of trying to promote competition and saying that the MLS and the National Association of Realtors have had a job in fixing commissions at 5% so that a seller's agent can offer a buyer's agent, percentage of the commission. And so it's not a situation where there is free competition and therefore they've challenged that and they've actually won. So from that information, the NAR has to pay 1.8 billion dollars in fines, or in a penalty. So that is a really interesting development that we've actually discussed before. However, we've actually seen some reaction to it now. After this happened, apparently within minutes, a number of other lawsuits have been filed, very similar lawsuits. Obviously, when people, I think, saw that that was the reaction, or sorry, that was the result of what happened to this lawsuit. Obviously, if you had a similar case, you were probably a lot more prone to file that lawsuit because you've seen that there is precedent there where you could definitely win. And so that's one of the situations that's emerged. You also have quite a few people in the real estate industry now making comments on what they think this could happen. So you've got people like a real estate entrepreneur, Thomas Marr, who has said he thinks now that effectively the real estate industry has changed. It means that residential real estate specifically is going to lead to a race to the bottom. Now that's in terms of commission. So what they're saying basically is that 5% commission, which a seller's agent would have charged with an exclusive listing saying, I'm going to represent you and I'm going to find you a buyer, could well go away, because they're not going to be in a situation where they're going to want to be doing the same amount of work for 1% of the sales price of a property. And so they're not really able then to offer a percentage to a buyer's agent. And so that situation of having a buyer's agent and a seller's agent cooperating and negotiating to get a deal done doesn't make sense at that lower price point of 1% commission. And basically they think that it's going to be a race to the bottom where agents will now try and undercut each other to get the business, and therefore, commissions could drop as low as 1%. Now, I gave my opinion on this a couple of days ago, and it really kind of follows what I'm predicting anyway, is something that could happen. I obviously came from the UK, and they've actually used comparisons here to the UK market, as Australia and Israel, where apparently, well, I know the UK, but they are kind of billion-dollar, real estate companies which employ agents, who are basically employees who go and do, tasks like showings, like making cold calls, like doing that. And the actual company can do the volume and can list as many properties as possible. And that's why they need to do business. So that will be interesting to see if that develops that way. I think if it does, it's going to take a long time or quite a while to get there. The US has had this system where it has been the situation where you have your realtor, your specific person that you go to, that you recommend to your friends, to your family, because they've done good business and they've built up a reputation. And so it's been that situation for so many years, and buyers and sellers are so used to that that I think that that probably will take a while to change. Probably with new first-time home buyers, and first-time sellers, that's probably where I think you will see that switch start to happen first off, because obviously they're probably looking at their property saying, why would I pay 5% when I can pay 1%? Now, I agree with some of the commentary as well, where people are saying that the actual service level will drop. I have to say, from my experience in the UK as opposed to the US, if you were a seller in either country, the actual quality of work and the service that is given to you, that kind of white glove, all of your all of your needs taken care of. That person who's on the phone 24 hours a day, who you can call, ask questions to, reach out to, is not the same when you have a big company where you're calling the manager and the manager's got 10 other properties they're dealing with. And obviously they want to sell your property, but realistically getting the listings and the opportunities is their main driving force. So it's going to be interesting if it goes that way. And I'm actually very interested to see what happens, obviously, because I'm a real estate agent and that's going to impact my day-to-day business. But also it's going to be interesting to see if it goes fully that way. Now, another comment that's been made, which I don't think I fully agree with, but what some people are saying is this gets rid of obviously the MLS situation where there is almost a fixed commission, or a seller's agent offers 50% of their commission to a buyer's agent. If that gets in a situation where that no longer exists, then the MLS and that kind of situation goes away. And so the comment that they're making is that the buyer right now, who can go out and actually go on Google and go to websites like Zillow and realtor.com and places where there's those aggregate websites where all of the information is collected and you can get information comparing different properties in the market, see what has sold, see what the average price point per square foot is there, will go away. Now, I don't think I fully agree with that, because in the UK we had a company, a couple companies, but one that I remember and I believe it's still around, called Zoopla. It was very similar to Zillow.com, where a lot of that information was given to that website. And actually, it was an odd situation because those big companies paid, I don't know what it was, but they paid a membership effectively to those websites, because those websites had such dominance in the searchability, and they were able to basically get all of that information into one place. So the agencies which just said, go to my website and look at our listings, and then you can go to another website and look at those listings, they were there, but they kind of died out. They were not used by the consumer, because if the consumer's searching the market, they don't just want to see listings from one company, they want to see what is out there from everyone. And obviously that meant that they had the ability to contact those different companies to go and see those properties. There weren't buyers agents, so they would contact that office, go and see the property with that agent, and that relationship wasn't there. And that is another thing. If I'm here and I'm representing a buyer, I've built that relationship. I know exactly what they're looking for, and I'm going out and looking for off-market opportunities, for opportunities that are coming to the market soon. And when you have a situation like it is in the UK, you're only dealing with the agents that list the property. So you could be seeing tons of properties, and those are with completely different agents. And if you meet someone and you think this agent is amazing, I'd love to work with them, you don't have that option, unless that agent has all of these properties there. So I think that is a situation. However, as I said, that model of there being an aggregate website still existed. And it almost probably was almost a price fixing situation there, where because they had such good traffic to their website, they could charge these companies significant amount of money to list those properties on those websites, which they ended up doing. So I think that is going to be something which is also interesting to look out for. Now, if it is a race to the bottom and that changes, I will be following this situation. I'm going to be, reading all the articles and more information as they come out. There are obviously appeals now being filed against, this judgment that's happened. So I'll kind of keep an eye on those. The other thing as well is, apparently there were some of the big real estate companies, I believe Keller Williams, don't hold me to that, I need to look more into this, but I think that they actually offered a settlement prior to the actual judgment handed down by the judge. So also that probably gives an indication that those companies saw that this, may happen, and they probably were like, look, if this is going to happen, we want to get ahead of it and we want to put ourselves in the best possible position. So that is also something I'm going to keep an eye on. The other thing, which I'm going to quickly discuss with you, is a real estate investor called John Goff, who is a commercial real estate investor, has made some comments about what he thinks we're going to see in terms of the commercial real estate market over the next couple of years. And I'm not a commercial real estate agent. I'm in residential, but I do have contacts in commercial. I have friends in commercial, and I've obviously discussed that constantly with them and what their market is in comparison to ours. And the market in the US, I don't know the US as much, in specifically LA and in California, has not been a good outlook for commercial real estate. And I think that this is due to a number of factors, mainly two factors that have come together and have almost created like a perfect storm because they've happened at the same time. Those are, for one, the pandemic that has shifted the consumer's idea of what work necessarily is. A lot of these commercial buildings are office spaces, are workspaces, and we saw actually WeWork filed for bankruptcy recently, even though obviously that was kind of a model in between the two where people could go in and work in an environment but not have an exclusive office. That business obviously hasn't done well, and that has now gone out of business or is filing for bankruptcy. This is even more uh, kind of, on the old school side, which was people needed office space. So if you owned a company, you had a set amount of employees. You needed to have office space for them, whether that's desks, meeting rooms, that sort of thing. And because of the pandemic, that has shifted. And so the everyday person now sees working at home as a possibility. And there are quite a lot of companies, I don't know if this is true where you live, but there's a lot of that happening in Los Angeles where I live, where they will make the employee maybe come in for 2-3 days a week, maybe not even that. And a lot of people work from home for probably at least 2 or 3 days a week. So that office space is not necessarily needed anymore. And so what we've seen is a lot of that commercial office space specifically has been left open. It is, where a commercial landlord could have had 100% occupancy, that is fairly rare now. And so they're offering very good deals. And obviously the supply is outstripping the demand. So I think some commercial owners of commercial buildings are just trying to cover their costs. They're basically trying to get tenants in there so that they are not losing money every month. And so that is a difficult situation and a shift in that part of real estate that will take a while, I think, to actually go through and change. It's not going to be suddenly, all those commercial buildings convert into something else. Sorry, my wife walked past there. So I think that's going to be something that's interesting. The other side of it, which is kind of the other side of this perfect storm that's happening, is that interest rates have gone up. The Fed have raised the rate to an extent now where those rates are no longer what you would have got even a year ago, 2 years ago. And so what would happen a lot in commercial real estate is an investor would have a building, the value would have gone up, they would refinance a certain amount of money out of that building and put that down into another opportunity, whether that was developing something from the ground up, whether that was buying a building or a distressed building and building their portfolio. That now isn't really possible. So, where you were going to get 2% before, you now may get 9-10%. And so no one really is wanting to pull money out of those assets. And so the demand that is going into buying new buildings has also dropped in that respect as well. Now, I wasn't aware of this, but apparently, according to this commentary, there is, I believe, $1.4 trillion, yeah, worth of US commercial property loans that are due to mature within the next year and the year after that. And so, I always think, in the US, we have 30-year mortgages or 30-year arms on, a fixed rate, which is different from the UK. Normally it's 5 years, which is, another topic we'll discuss later. But a lot of that is due to mature. And so those people who have owned those assets either need to refinance. So that means that their rate is going to go up 3 or 4 times what they're currently paying on that mortgage, or, they need to sell the building. And so again, it's probably going to be a situation where you're going to see a flood or a lot of commercial properties coming to the market. Again, supply outstripping demand, and so that those prices will start to drop and there will be more deals. So I think that there are probably investors out there who are looking at these opportunities or waiting for these opportunities to happen. And I've had some thoughts in the past, maybe those commercial spaces get converted into residential. There's always a shortage at the moment of rental properties in LA, which is why rents are so high. Or do they get converted into more retail? But actually on the commercial side as well, retail we've seen has also dropped off. A lot of these malls that were full and bustling, 5, 10 years ago are no longer like that because of business models like Amazon, where you can go online, you can look at reviews, you can find that product and you can have it, delivered within 1 or 2 days. So that's not kind of what we had before, and that's almost easier for a lot of people than going to the store, parking, walking around, seeing if the store has what you need, buying it. It's a different place, and so that demand for retail space has dropped off. So I think it's going to be a really interesting next couple of years with rates where they are specifically, but more, commercial real estate. It's not as much like residential where people always need a place to live. That I think is going to be really a very changing market. And as I said, with that as well, I'm going to be keeping my commentary going. I'm going to be finding updates for you. So if you guys found either of these topics interesting, or you have future questions about other topics in real estate, please do put it in the comments below. I'd love to answer your questions, and I'd love to know what you think. Is there too much opinion in this? Is there something where you'd like to know, more about a specific, something that I've mentioned, or, you think I'm completely wrong? I'd love to know that as well. Anyway, thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Please, subscribe to the channel if you can, turn on notifications, comments, etc. That'd be amazing. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.